Chapter 11 The Powerful Hawking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Turtle-style Qigong. There was a loud shout, and then a beam of energy shot from behind Wolverine, grazing his beard and directly blowing up the helicopter on the spot. There is no need to wait for the future, I am a qualified warrior now. Putting away his posture, Hawking said to Wolverine, who turned back and glared at him. Colossus and the students who had not yet entered the secret passage were stunned at this time. Hawking's turtle-style Qigong reminded them of Cyclops Scott. "Sergeant, how many have you caught?" At the same time, in the brainwave enhancement room on the top floor of the school that was blasted open, William Stryker picked up the helmet of the brainwave enhancement machine and asked the sergeant beside him. There was a hint of embarrassment on the sergeant's face. "There is none at the moment. 2 powerful guys showed up and rescued all the students we just captured. Even one of the fighter jets was damaged. First dismantle these and transport them back to the base. Others will stay and capture as many mutants as possible to test the effectiveness of the machine." Stryker suddenly frowned. He didn't expect to take down Professor. Originally he planned to occupy the entire school directly, but now to be on the safe side he decided to leave with the machine himself, with Professor. "Yes, Colonel." So these well-trained professional soldiers quickly dismantled the main mechanical parts of the brainwave enhancement machine, and then escorted them with Colonel Stryker to the transport plane parked outside. The remaining sergeant continued to command the remaining soldiers to fight, but it didn't take long for his expression to change, because all that came from his walkie-talkie were the screams of his men. "Don't move, put your hands up." In the lobby on the second floor of the school, the 3 naughty boys managed to escape several searching soldiers, but were blocked by a large wave of soldiers. Seeing a dozen submachine guns pointed at them, they were immediately too frightened to move. They have not yet undergone combat training and have a visceral fear of firearms, and they dare not use their abilities to resist. Seeing that the 3 of them were about to be captured by these soldiers with tranquilizer guns, 2 loud shouts suddenly came from above their heads. "Go to hell! Take my stick!" It was Wolverine and Hawking who discovered the situation here and swooped down from the 3rd-floor corridor, inserting the heart, cutting the neck, and using the bodies of the killed soldiers to block bullets. Wolverine had killed 6 soldiers in just a few seconds, but when he rushed towards the 7th, he found that there were no soldiers left standing. It turned out that the remaining 11 soldiers had all been knocked down by Hawking. "Well done, little monkey." Reaching out to push the corpse away from the wolf's paws, Wolverine couldn't help but praise Hawking again. Along the way, they encountered several groups of invading soldiers, and Hawking's performance really impressed him. Not only the powerful energy attack at the beginning, but later Hawking also showed stronger fighting ability and physical fitness than him, as well as a strong heart that a warrior should have. The key point is that Hawking was only 12 years old. "Logan, I told you, don't call me little monkey." Hawking stuck the wishful stick on his back and rolled his eyes. He knew that Wolverine didn't mean to mock him when he called him little monkey, because his 12-year-old body and the tail behind his butt really fit the title of little monkey. It's just that he doesn't want to use little monkey as his code name when he is introduced in the future. This is Wolverine. This is Cyclops, this is Storm, and this is little monkey. It's so weak, isn't it? But to be honest, fighting Wolverine along the way, he also saw how powerful Wolverine was. Wolverine's strength is not his fighting ability. His fighting ability is not bad, even far superior to most people, but it is not the best. What makes him powerful is his near-immortal self-healing body, coupled with the almost indestructible adamant metal skeleton and wolf claws. Unless he is defeated by giants like Magneto and Professor X, ordinary people can't really defeat him. Of course, this is not the most critical thing. The most critical thing is his extremely strong heart and nearly 200 years of combat experience. Combat experience is different from fighting skills. Rich combat experience allows him to always use all the advantages of himself and the surrounding environment to defeat opponents more powerful than himself. It's like Brother Long in the furniture store. "What would I call you, Gorilla, or Donkey Kong?" Wolverine joked. Hawking always acted like a little adult, and he couldn't help but want to tease him. "Okay, whatever you want." After spreading his hands, Hawking knew that it was useless to talk. One day he would transform into a giant ape form and let Wolverine know how incompatible the little monkey was with him. "Logan." Seeing Logan appear, the little naughty pounced on him. Logan was her best friend, it was Logan who helped her when she was most lonely and helpless. Okay, it's not safe yet, follow me and the little monkey, we will take you to the secret passage. After letting go of the little naughty boy, before Logan could finish his words, the large glass in the lobby on the second floor was suddenly blown to pieces, and 3 combat helicopters had already appeared there. Little monkey, Logan immediately looked at Hawking. Along the way, Hawking's energy column with his bare hands killed 4 more combat helicopters, but this time Hawking did not use turtle-style Qigong, but pulled out the Rui stick from behind. The wishful stick has grown longer, under Hawking's order, the wishful stick quickly lengthened and was directly inserted into the combat helicopter in the middle outside. Aha, the muscles all over his body exploded, and Hawking vigorously swung the lengthened golden cudgel left and right, in the round eyes of the 3 naughty people behind. The helicopter in the middle was actually controlled by Hawking's powerful force, and it hit the helicopters on both sides heavily. Boom! 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 All 3 combat helicopters exploded and fell. Although the turtle school Qigong is powerful, it consumes too much Qi in the body. Even the 13-year-old Sun Wukong cannot use it all the time. Retreat, all retreat! The sergeant who had already arrived on the lawn outside the school heard that more than a dozen elite soldiers had died and 3 combat helicopters were destroyed. He gritted his teeth and gave the final retreat order. There are currently less than 10 people and 2 combat helicopters left in this operation. If they don't retreat, the entire army will be annihilated. They're retreating. After sending the 3 Rugrats into the secret passage on the first floor, Hawking and Wolverine were preparing to continue hunting the invading soldiers, but found that the other party was no longer attacking, but was quickly retreating. The 2 chased them downstairs, where the only 2 remaining helicopters had already taken off. Let these bastards run away. Wolverine lit the cigar and took a puff, saying with some regret. Chapter 12 Throwing Pillars to Kill the Enemy. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It's not that easy to run away. Hawking took a stance and struck another blow of turtle-style Qigong, blasting one of the combat helicopters. These are rare values of justice, how can you let them go? However, after finishing this shot, he clearly felt that his body could no longer condense the Qigong of the second shot of the turtle school. He looked around and quickly fixed his gaze on a decorative stone pillar on the left side of the school castle. He ran over and slashed the stone pillar up and down with his knife, then quickly removed it. Then he aimed at the last combat helicopter, which had almost turned into a small black dot, and threw it out with all his strength with a loud shout. I saw the 4-meter-long and half-meter-thick stone pillar, driven by Hawking with all his strength, like an exploding missile, flying straight towards the almost invisible little black dot. Boom! The last combat helicopter also turned into a ball of beautiful sparks in the sky. 13-year-old Wukong has already climbed the Kalen Tower and defeated Tao Bai. Similar to Tao Bai's ability to throw stone pillars with one hand, Hawking, who has loaded the Wukong template, can naturally do it easily. If he wanted to, he could catch up with the stone pillar in one leap and fly to a far distance on the stone pillar. Previously in Sokovia, if he hadn't been afraid of becoming the focus of missiles from both sides in the air, he could have used this method to fly out of the city quickly from the beginning. I take back what I said at the beginning, you are indeed a very qualified warrior. Looking at the last combat helicopter exploding in the air, Wolverine turned to look at Hawking and raised the steel claw on the far right of his right hand. Hawking, on the other hand, stretched out his hand to Wolverine. What? Wolverine didn't understand what Hawking meant. Cigarette. Hawking pointed to the cigar in Wolverine's hand. Wolverine quickly waved his hand. No, this is not suitable for you. You have to wait a few more years. However, as soon as the figure flashed, the cigar box and lighter in his pocket had fallen into Hawking's hands. In terms of speed, he can't compare to Hawking in his current state. He took out a cigar from the box, lit it, and held it in his mouth with a serious look. I definitely don't smoke. At this time, it's just to tease Wolverine, who keeps giving himself random nicknames. Oh God, the professor would kill me if he knew. Wolverine couldn't help but twitching at the corners of his eyes when he saw Hawking holding a cigar in his mouth. Professor. He said that the next time he committed another crime, he would change his mind into a 6-year-old girl and let Chin braid his hair. If it was known that he was giving cigarettes to school students, he would be doomed. Don't worry, if the professor finds me smoking or drinking, I will say it was Luogenjin who taught me. Hawking waved a lit cigar in front of Wolverine's face. Okay, I won't call you little monkey anymore, this matter must be kept secret. Logan covered his forehead. After making a joke, Hawking stopped chatting with Wolverine and asked about business. Logan, Professor, where were they tonight? I'm not sure. I just arrived at school in the evening. Professor Charles said he wanted to visit old friends. Sheen and the others went to Boston. It seemed to be related to a mutant attacking the president. Because of Hawking's strength and various mature performances, Wolverine no longer regards him as an ordinary child. After hearing Logan's words, Hawking's pupils suddenly shrank. No, Logan, do you know where the professor's brainwave enhancement room is? Certainly. Logan nodded. School brainwave enhancement room. It's indeed that Colonel Stryker. Hawking looked at the forcibly destroyed entrance and the disappeared brainwave enhancement machine, and he had completely confirmed who assigned those who attacked the mutant school this time. Colonel Stryker, full name William Stryker, because his son was a mutant and could not control his abilities and accidentally killed his wife, he vowed to destroy all mutants in the world. He captured mutants everywhere and conducted experiments in an attempt to create the most powerful weapon to kill all mutants. This gave birth to Wolverine, who possesses adamantium alloy. Now he uses his son's brain fluid to control Nightcrawler, who can teleport, to assassinate the president, thereby luring Professor. Finally, he wanted to use his son's Master of Illusion ability to control Professor X through the brainwave enhancement machine to kill all mutants in the world. I don't know if the brainwave enhancement machine has been taken away. After thinking about it, Hawking sighed, because he remembered that at the beginning, he saw a transport plane parked on the lawn outside the school, but then it disappeared, so there is a high probability that Stryker has obtained the brainwave enhancement machine. These guys are arresting students and stealing brainwave enhancement machines. What is their purpose? Wolverine looked at the brainwave enhancement machine that disappeared in front of him, with a puzzled look on his face. This kind of brain-using thing is obviously not suitable for him. The time is almost up. Hawking, who was thinking about what to do next, saw the countdown to the end of loading of the protagonist template that popped up on the panel, and immediately said to Wolverine, "Go to the secret passage to find Pyotr and ask him to use the school's communication facilities to try to contact the professor and all the teachers. My abilities have reached the limit and I need to take a rest." Before he finished speaking, he rolled his eyes and fainted. Little monkey. Seeing Hawking suddenly fainting, Wolverine was also shocked and hurriedly went up to hug him. He checked and found that he had just fainted, and he was relieved. What a strange ability. Watching Hawking's hair recover, the stick behind him disappear, and his clothes turn into normal clothes, Wolverine carried Hawking to the secret passage where Pyotr and the others had just left. Before many mutants fully grew up, their bodies couldn't bear the coma after using their abilities for a long time. He thought the same was true for Hawking, drowsy, groggy. Brother! Brother! The familiar call made Hawking gradually open his eyes. When Wanda and Pietro saw Hawking waking up, they immediately cried and threw themselves on him. Born in war-torn Sokovia, even though they were much stronger than other children of the same age, they were still frightened when they saw Wolverine coming back with the unconscious Hawking in his arms. "Okay, stop crying, I'm fine." Hawking sat up and looked at the surrounding environment while comforting the two brothers and sisters. A large and luxurious villa, where the school's mutant children are all, should be a temporary shelter set up by Professor X outside the school just in case. "You were unconscious for an hour, but you seem to be fine." Realizing that Hawking had woken up here, Wolverine also came over carrying a bottle of beer, and Hawking was moved when he heard Wolverine's words. "It only takes an hour." Sure enough, the improvement of the main body's strength can greatly reduce the side effects of loading the protagonist template. Chapter 13 Magneto is coming. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When the template was loaded for the first time, Hawking was in a coma for a whole day, and he was very weak when he woke up. He has only been in coma for an hour now. When he woke up, his body was basically normal. There was no weakness and he was in his usual normal state. I believe that if I practice for a while, loading the template will probably have no side effects. Have you contacted the professor? No, I only contacted Chin and Nororo. They are rushing back from Boston and they probably won't arrive until tomorrow. Wolverine handed the beer in his hand to Bobby next to him. Bobby blew into the mouth of the bottle, and a bottle of cold beer came out immediately. If Professor X was not contacted, it was basically certain that he had been captured by Stryker, the power of Professor. Therefore, as long as you are not controlled by his mind at close range and remotely controlled mechanical sneak attacks, it is not difficult to deal with Professor X. This is why Professor X always takes a Scot with him when he goes out, because he needs someone to protect him. Stryker took advantage of this and suddenly closed the room when Professor. Okay, let's wait until the teachers come back. Hawking didn't say anything about Stryker's plan because it wasn't his place to say it. How could he, a kid who had just come from Sokovia to go to school, know so much about mutants? He couldn't explain it afterwards. Even asking Wolverine to take him to check out the brainwave enhancement machine before was not something he should have done. It was just that Wolverine was more nervous and it was fine. Professor X would have suspected him a long time ago, and it's useless to say it now. Stryker's base is far away by a large lake in Canada. Without the school's X-Fighter, he and Wolverine can't fly there. Of course, he can't completely ignore it. If Stryker succeeds and kills all the mutants on the Earth, little Pietro will not be spared. His original plan of eating and drinking in the mutant school to gain justice will also go bankrupt, or in the end, Magneto seizes the opportunity, changes his goal, and kills all normal humans on the Earth. That would be even worse, because he will also die. Hey, he doesn't seem to be a normal human now, he is a scion, but it's hard to say this, it was not his style to leave his fate to others. Boy Gang will continue to contact the professor. I will keep vigil at night. Just have a good rest. Wolverine patted Hawking on the shoulder and told him not to worry too much. In his eyes, no matter how powerful and mature Hawking is, he is still a child, and there are some things that children should not be responsible for. However, Hawking's stomach made several croaking sounds at this time. Is there anything to eat here? I need to fill my stomach. The much food eaten at night had been almost consumed in the 1 hour of fighting. Wolverine smiled when he saw this. Follow me, there's everything in the basement. This is an emergency shelter prepared by Professor. After comforting Wanda and Pietro, Hawking followed Wolverine to the basement of the villa. At this time, I want to sing a song about heaven. Looking at the boxes and boxes of chocolates, sausages, bread, drinks and other miscellaneous food, Hawking's eyes suddenly lit up. His body has long been hungry and thirsty, and it needs these high-sugar, high-fat and high-energy things to replenish it. Oh, hell, I finally know who the edible kid Yug was talking about. Wolverine's half-drunk beer froze in the air as he watched the boxes of food disappear. In the afternoon of the next day, a stealth fighter landed steadily on the lawn behind the villa. Chin, you are much later than the agreed time. I was worried that you might not get into any trouble. Seeing the Phoenix Girl coming out of the plane, Logan stepped forward and gave her a hug. Behind Phoenix Girl, Storm Girl was carrying a mutant who looked like a legendary demon. She pointed to the door cabin of the plane and explained. Something unexpected happened halfway through, and I met 2 unexpected people. Wolverine turned around and saw an old man wearing a special helmet and a female mutant with blue skin walking out. Friends, long time no see. The old man raised his hand and said hello with a smile. Wolverine's expression immediately became fierce, and his wolf claws instantly stretched out. The visitors were none other than Magneto and Mystique, who had had a fierce life-and-death battle at the Statue of Liberty 2 years ago. In that battle, the little naughty boy was almost killed by Magneto. Logan, they are not enemies now. Upon seeing this, Phoenix Girl quickly stopped Wolverine and explained patiently, it turns out that Magneto was rescued from prison by Mystique after Stryker took away Professor X, and then took the initiative to contact the X-Men to seek cooperation, saying that they would rescue Professor X and save all mutants together. Magneto's purpose is not only to save mutants, but also to kill all humans. Standing at the second-floor window and watching everything, Hawking shook his head while chewing on a large Virginia sausage. He will definitely go to Canada to rescue Professor X, whether it is saving mutants or humans, he will have a lot of justice points in his account no matter which one. Maybe the progress bar will be filled directly to unlock the second protagonist template. Again, he didn't trust leaving his fate in anyone's hands. The operation in the movie was indeed successful, but this is not a movie, and it is most likely not a universe. The same event may have different results, and who can say for sure. His appearance itself has already produced a butterfly effect, and everything in the future will inevitably change dramatically. The plots he knows in his mind can only be used as a reference and must not be regarded as a creed. Otherwise, you might get tricked to death at some point. Wanda, Pietro, you guys stay here and watch TV with everyone. I'll go down. Seeing Magneto and others entering the villa together, Hawking touched Wanda and Pietro's heads, said a few words and then walked up the stairs to the living room on the first floor. No news from the professor yet? Kid, don't worry, Professor, he is fine and will be back soon, and we will be able to go back to school soon. When Storm saw Hawking coming downstairs to ask for news about Professor X, she immediately leaned over and comforted him like a child. She knew that Hawking was a child that the professor had just brought to school, and she had met him yesterday. Now that the school has become like this, Hawking, a child who has just entered the school, must be very scared, and the only familiar Professor X is not here. Logan behind him showed a strange expression when he saw this. This scene made him feel very inconsistent. Hawking is indeed a child, but after yesterday's battle, he really can't completely treat him as a child. Chapter 14 Combat Meeting. You are listening at NovelFlow.audio. It's really exciting. Subconsciously glancing at the abyss in front of him, Hawking was instantly attracted. The body of 11 or 12 years old has already entered puberty, and coupled with the soul of an adult in the previous life, it is inevitable that there will be some reaction to the beautiful scenery so close at hand. Maybe this is the benefit of being reborn as a child. Everything will get better. Finally, Storm touched Hawking's head and stood up. In her opinion, what kind of bad thoughts could a child have? She didn't think too much about it. At this time, Hawking also reacted, coughed a little awkwardly, and then said, Piet has not been able to contact the professor. The target of yesterday's wave of people was mainly the brain wave enhancement machine. According to what Logan and I said about the professor's ability and the role of the brain wave enhancement machine, I suspect those people have captured the professor and want to do something with him and the brainwave enhancement machine. Everyone was shocked when they heard Hawking's analysis that was suddenly so close to the truth. At this time, Logan also walked up to Hawking and introduced. Don't underestimate Hawking. He killed most of the invading soldiers yesterday. Even 10 combat helicopters were destroyed. Without his help and just relying on me, it would be really troublesome, so I suggest that you bring him with you to all subsequent meetings and actions. Hawking had talked to him in the morning, asked for a lot of information, and made his own guesses and judgments, most of which matched the intelligence brought by Magneto. Coupled with yesterday's fight side by side, he really felt that he could take Hawking with him. Of course, it was certainly not because Hawking threatened to tell the professor about the two smoking and drinking together last night that he agreed to help. What an extraordinary elite. After hearing Wolverine's words, Magneto looked at Hawking with admiration in his eyes, and wished he could immediately recruit him into his Brotherhood of Mutants and train him. With such strength and wisdom at a young age, he will definitely be an elite among the elite when he grows up. If he can be won over, he will be one of his generals. But he's still a kid. The two female teachers, Storm and Cheen, obviously did not agree with letting Hawking, a child, participate in the next dangerous action. Even though Hawking had powerful abilities, in their eyes, children are still children no matter how capable they are, and they should not be allowed to go to the battlefield. He is not an ordinary child, but a warrior. In my opinion, he is more suitable for the next action than you. The greenhouse flowers cultivated by Charles. Magneto stepped forward and said, on the one hand, he said this to increase Hawking's good impression of him. What a strong child lacks most is a sense of identity. As long as he feels that you identify with him, he will involuntarily lean towards you. On the other hand, he did think so. Except for Wolverine, the other X-Men were all baby dolls in his eyes. Although their abilities were well developed under the guidance of Charles, they were not ruthless enough. There is room for action, even if the enemy can be wounded but not killed. It is too naive, just like Charles. If Charles could be as cruel as him and kill him after catching him, the Brotherhood of Mutants would be gone long ago. Flowers in the greenhouse. I don't know who lost the last battle on Liberty Island and was sent to prison until now. Wolverine raised his right hand and extended the metal claw in the middle towards Magneto, as if giving a middle finger. Magneto just smiled when he saw this. You still have the same short memory. Because of the adamantium alloy in his body, Wolverine is defeated by his abilities. He can make Wolverine's life worse than death at any time if he wants to. Mystique on the side stepped forward and touched Wolverine's chin, leaned on Magneto and mocked. You won't be so lucky every time. Well, I think now is not the time to settle old scores, but to think about how to rescue the professor, isn't it? Seeing that the smell of gunpowder was beginning to get stronger, Hawking quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. After hearing what one of Hawking's children said, it was really hard for both parties to continue arguing. That makes sense. For the safety of Charles and the entire mutant population, we really need to work together this time. Magneto nodded. Wolverine also put away his wolf claws. Hawking stepped forward and held Storm with one hand and Phoenix with the other and said, "Two teachers, I know you are doing it for my own good, but the current situation is special. For the sake of the professor, the school, and the entire mutant population, including my sister and brother, I must join, and please rest assured, I grew up in a war-torn country like Sokovia. I am very good at fighting and protecting myself. If there is really danger, I will protect myself." Looking at Hawking's firm eyes, Storm and Phoenix looked at each other, and finally nodded helplessly. They could only sigh inwardly, what a good child. Remember, that old man over there is a bad guy, so be sure to listen less to what he says. Storm squatted down and leaned against Hawking's ear, pointing at Magneto and whispering. She was afraid that Hawking was still young and would be beguiled by Magneto's crooked theories. Don't worry, I won't be fooled by that old man so easily. Hawking smiled and winked, so everyone came to the conference room that Colossus had prepared long ago and began to discuss the next action plan. As soon as the meeting began, Magneto told all the information he knew. That's what happened. The information I have now is that Stryker has once again established a new brainwave enhancement room in his base. This time, he took away the brainwave enhancement host in order to completely improve it. If he really controls Charles to use the brainwave enhancement machine to kill all mutants, then all of you will die except me. It's just that I can't determine the specific location of Stryker's experimental base yet. Finally, Magneto nodded the helmet on his head. His helmet can block Professor X's mental intrusion, and it can also block mental attacks. The meaning to be expressed is also obvious. Even in the worst possible outcome, nothing will happen to him, so the one who is more anxious should be the X-Men. He is a kind-hearted friend who came to help, so you must trust him. But one of you should know. Professor has tried, but I still can't restore my memory. Wolverine frowned. According to Magneto, he was captured by Stryker and transformed in that experimental base, but he has lost those memories. Oh, you think everything has to do with you? Magneto smiled mockingly at Wolverine. The person the old gentleman is talking about should be him. At this time, Hawking opened his mouth and pointed at Nightcrawler. Since he was controlled by Stryker and attacked the president, there is a high probability that he has been to the experimental base. As long as Professor Chin uses telepathy to read his memory, he may be able to find clues about the base. Only by showing his wisdom to everyone appropriately can he have a certain say in the next actions, otherwise everyone will still treat him as a child. Chapter 15 Occupy the Right to Speak. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Yes, it seems that besides Charles, you have some smart guys here. Magneto looked at Hawking with even more admiration. The Phoenix girl didn't waste any time. She immediately stood up and came to Nightwalker. After comforting him, she began to concentrate on using telepathy on him. Soon, she found the specific location of Stryker's experimental base from Nightcrawler's blocked memory. It's at Winkle Industrial Park in the Canadian Rockies. It's impossible. I just came back from there. It was abandoned and there was nothing there except a few wolves. Wolverine had a look of disbelief on his face. Phoenix Girl explained. Logan, the base is not on the ground, but built underground, in the dam of Lake Arkley. After determining the location of the base, the next step is to send out personnel. The original plan was for Magneto, Mystique, Wolverine, Storm, Phoenix, Nightcrawler and Hawking, with Colossus staying to take care of the children, but at the end, Hawking raised objections. My suggestion is to let Professor Chin stay to protect the students, while Pyotr and us go to rescue the professor. He didn't want Phoenix Girl to follow him to the base. If he was stimulated and broke through the mental barrier that Professor X had placed in his brain, it would become a major natural disaster. As a 5th-level mutant, Chin possesses the Phoenix Force of the 3 ancient powers. When she explodes with all her strength, she will not be weaker than Wanda, who has the power of chaos to kill through the multiverse. It was just because he was unable to control his abilities when he was a child that he lost control of his car and killed his mother, causing his personality to split. One is a kind-hearted character now, and the other is a dark personality full of desire and destruction. In order to prevent Phoenix Girl from losing control, Professor X used his own psychic energy to build a barrier in her brain, temporarily restraining that dark personality. Therefore, the level 5 Phoenix Girl's current ability strength is at the level of level 3. If she is not stimulated, in the future the Phoenix Girl's kind personality will slowly develop and fully control the Phoenix power, and she will eventually be able to completely eliminate the dark personality. Pyatt has just started training and hasn't been able to cooperate well yet. He is much worse than Chin. Storm frowned and objected. Hawking explained with a serious face. It is precisely because of this that I suggested that Teacher Yu-Chin stay, because the safety of the students here is also very important. The fighting at the school last night must have alerted the nearby police, and it is estimated that it has been blocked by a large number of police and personnel from relevant government departments. Among them may be Stryker's men. If this shelter is discovered, it will be difficult to ensure the safety of the students. Professor Chin has the same mind. Control ability as Professor Charles. He can avoid some police inquiries and better protect the safety of students. I think what little Mr. Hawking said makes sense. Magneto was the first to agree when he heard this. He didn't care about the safety of the school students. He felt that with one missing piano, his plans would be less hindered. As for Pyotr, who can be made of steel, he is restrained by his ability just like Logan, so there is no need to worry at all. What the little monkey said makes sense. For the safety of the students, Chin, just stay. Wolverine also agrees with Hawking's point of view, because he likes Chin and is worried that Chin will not be injured during this mission. Considering that what Hawking said did make sense, Storm finally agreed. Logan, promise me you will rescue Scott. Seeing that everyone agreed, Phoenix Girl had no choice but to nod, but she also made an explanation to Wolverine. Professor X was kidnapped by Stryker, and Cyclops, who was responsible for protecting Professor. Stryker just got the mainframe of the brainwave enhancement machine last night, and it will take some time for him to transport it to the base for assembly and debugging. Let's take a good rest first to recharge our spirits, and then set off at night to launch an attack in the early morning when the opponent is most slack. After the personnel for the operation were decided, Magneto also determined the time for the operation. Everyone didn't sleep well last night, especially Magneto who escaped from prison and Storm who went to Boston to find Nightcrawler. They didn't sleep at all, so the most important thing now is to adjust their state before setting off. Hawking has no objection to this. His protagonist template has not yet finished cooling down and it needs time. In the basement of the villa, after the meeting, Hawking came straight over. In addition to a lot of food that can be stored for a long time, there are also many daily necessities here. Found it. After some searching, he finally found what he needed from a box: sunglasses. It's a pity that they are all children's versions. He picked a Mickey Mouse-shaped one and stuffed it into his pocket before leaving the basement. Why look for sunglasses? Because tonight happens to be the full moon day of the month. If he looks directly at the moon without wearing sunglasses, he will turn into a cruel and irrational giant ape. Of course, this is also his biggest trump card for daring to participate in this operation. If you really encounter a crisis that cannot be solved by loading the protagonist template, or even threatens your own life, then you can transform into the form of a giant ape to save your life. The combat effectiveness of the giant ape form is 10 times higher than that of the normal form. As for the others, I'm sorry, I can only let them wish for themselves. Logan, I'm sorry, I'm very nice and charming, but I choose Scott. so don't do this again. As soon as he walked out of the basement, Hawking happened to catch Wolverine and Phoenix kissing passionately. After the passionate kiss, Hawking heard Phoenix's decision to reject Wolverine and choose Cyclops. Both Wolverine and Cyclops liked Phoenix Girl, but compared to the wild Wolverine, Phoenix Girl finally chose Cyclops, who had been with him day and night for more than 10 years. It seems you've fallen out of love, would you like one? Hawking pulled a cigar from the box in his pocket and handed it to Wolverine. Thank you. Maybe Scott is more suitable for her than me. Wolverine comforted himself, he is a lone wolf who has lost his memory and has been wandering around in search of himself. Even if he occasionally returns here, it is only a temporary stop. Hey, why does your cigar box look so familiar? Yeah, I picked it up from the ground. Picked it up. I dropped it while drinking yesterday. Oh, that's mine now. That's my last box, give it back to me. Logan, don't be so rude. Isn't it too embarrassing for you, an adult, to snatch things from a child? Okay, I'll give you everything. You are still a child. This is not suitable for you. I will keep it all and give it to you when you really need it. Ha, just kidding you, actually I don't smoke. Because the protagonist template was not loaded, although Hawking's strength was beyond that of ordinary people, it was still far behind Wolverine, and he was still taken away from the cigar box in the end. However, his last words also made Logan depressed for a while. He thought too much for a long time. Chapter 16: The Poor and the Wise. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After playing with Wolverine for a while and playing Neo 13 for a while, seeing that he was in a better mood, Hawking turned and went to the second floor to accompany Wanda and Pietro. However, as soon as he reached the stairs, he was blocked by Magneto and Mystique. Kid, do you know you have great potential? You know, I have always felt that I will definitely become a great person in the future. Hawking smiled, strong and self-aware. Even if he only has the current Scion bloodline and is developed in the future, he will definitely have a place in the Marvel Universe, not to mention he has more than one protagonist template. Very good, I like your confidence, but it's too wasteful to be here. Follow me, I can better develop your potential and let you give full play to your abilities. Magneto began to export his idea of mutant supremacy to Hawking, looking forward to a bright future, and wanted him to join the Brotherhood of Mutants. Well, the teachers all told me that you are a bad guy, but I quite agree with some of your views. However, at present, I still feel that the school for gifted youngsters is more suitable for my growth. Your place is too poor, and those who run around are hunted down. Maybe when I grow up, I'll consider it. Waiting patiently for Magneto to finish, Hawking gave his own answer, and he rejected Magneto. What he said is true. Lao Wan is a nice person, but he is not as rich as Professor won't join. He didn't say anything to Death, which gave Magneto a little hope that at least the other side wouldn't kill him if they fought in the future. It doesn't matter. As long as you figure it out, you are welcome to come to me at any time. Magneto was not too surprised by Hawking's answer and still kept smiling. It is normal that students who have been brainwashed by Charles do not recognize reality and the hopelessness of human beings so quickly. This beautiful young lady, can you give me a moment? Hawking turned to look at Mystique, who had blue skin all over her body. To be honest, Mystique's figure is really great, but her blue skin is a little hard to accept. However, its ability to take on the appearance of any person, including irises, fingerprints, skin texture, voice and gender, can completely make up for this shortcoming. With Mystique, you basically own the whole world, and there will never be a lack of freshness to satisfy any imagination you have. That is, he has been thinking about a question: does Mystique's blue skin state count as wearing clothes? If it doesn't count, wouldn't it be the case every day? This little guy is quite realistic and quite naughty. After Hawking walked up to the second floor, Mystique licked her lips and commented. Magneto nodded. It doesn't matter. The more he has a character like this and the longer he stays here, he will join us sooner or later. Although they didn't get along for long, he was able to see from Hawking's words and actions that he was not a lonely person, nor was he an idealist like Charles. I hope so. I don't hate this sweet-mouthed little guy. Mystique shrugged, activated her ability, and her body instantly changed, transforming into Jean Grey wearing a sexy vest. I'm going to tease that silly wolf. Don't overdo it. We'll need them until the plan is complete. Magneto explained with a smile. Don't believe anything Magneto says. The little naughty boy was almost killed by him last time. As soon as they reached the second floor, Storm suddenly appeared. She was always wary of Magneto, but she didn't worry that Magneto and the two were wandering around the villa and had been monitoring the two of them intentionally or unintentionally. Sure enough, she just noticed Magneto stopping little Hawking and didn't know what he said. I know he wants me to join his fraternity, and I've said no. Hawking replied without concealment. But Teacher Ororo, I think we should be careful about Magneto when we go to rescue the professor. If that striker can control the professor to eliminate all mutants in the world, Magneto may not be able to take the opportunity to let the professor eliminate all humans. Hearing Hawking's reminder, Storm's pupils suddenly shrank. Yes, why didn't she think of this problem? If it were Magneto, it would really be possible for him to do such a thing. Thank you Hawking, this is so important, I will pay attention to it. Of course, this is just a guess, maybe he's not that bad. Hawking smiled and shrugged, revealing Magneto's plan to Storm in advance was also to make them wary, otherwise they wouldn't even know they were being tricked. It is also to re-establish his character as a wise man and make up for some of the negative effects of being a child. It doesn't matter whether he is really a wise man or not. What is important is to make everyone feel that he is, so that everyone will take his opinion seriously and trust him more. He's just so bad, it seems like we need to watch him more closely when the time comes. Storm was not sure at first, but after hearing what Hawking said, the more she thought about it, the more she felt that the other party would definitely do that, otherwise she would not be so active in seeking cooperation with them. By the way, there is one more important thing. Seeing Storm about to leave to inform the others, Hawking stopped her again. What's important? Storm obviously paid a lot of attention this time, Hawking explained. My ability is that after an explosion, I can greatly improve my physical fitness and launch some energy attacks. I should have said this just after the meeting. Yes, I did. Storm nodded. We all have to go to the base to rescue the professor together at night. We must know each other's abilities in order to cooperate well. Because Magneto was there at the time, I didn't finish what I said, that is, after I see the moon on a full moon night, my strength will increase significantly. But with my current control, I will lose my mind by then, so if that time comes tonight, remember to cut off my tail so that I can recover. Hawking talked about his special situation in advance. In fact, he originally considered hiding it, because in case he didn't need it, he could keep this trump card and not let anyone know about it, but after thinking about it, it seemed unnecessary. The giant ape form without reason will only lead him to the point where he is feared and hated by everyone like the Hulk. What if because no one knows that cutting off his tail can make him return to normal, he will be in the form of a giant ape? For a night, and the consequences will be absolutely disastrous. It is probably more destructive than the Hulk who lost his mind under Wanda's control. At least the Hulk doesn't spit out energy cannons. This result was not what he wanted. There is such a thing, that this is the first time Storm has heard of Hawking's situation. But out of trust in Hawking, she still wrote it down carefully and planned to tell Wolverine, Colossus and Nightcrawler together later. Chapter 17 The Terrible Magneto. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. At 11 o'clock in the evening, a fighter plane slowly rose from the villa lawn, then quickly became invisible and disappeared. Professor Chin, what are Hawking and the others going to do? Wanda was lying on the window of the room on the second floor, looking at the disappearing plane above, and turned to ask the Phoenix Girl next to her. Phoenix Girl touched Wanda's head. Hawking and the teachers went to fight the bad guys and will be back soon. When I grow up, I want Hawking to fight bad guys together. Wanda waved her hand. She wasn't keen on fighting bad guys, but she wanted to be with Hawking. Phoenix Girl smiled and knelt down. Then you have to work hard. I heard that your ability is to control the movement of objects, and so do I. But now I can only move a small cup. Wanda's hands lit up red, and the cup on the table next to her slowly rose and fell into her hands. Upon seeing this, Phoenix Girl comforted her. Not everyone is as talented as Hawking. We can train slowly, and in the future you can become an X-Men like him to help those in need. If Hawking heard these words here at this time, he would definitely complain fiercely. A Phoenix Power owner and a Chaos Power owner are actually talking about talent here. Whose talent can match the two of them? I will definitely train well. Wanda nodded vigorously, then looked at the window again, praying secretly in her heart. Brother Hawking, you must come back safely. She turned around and looked at her other brother Pietro. The guy was lying on the bed with his arms stretched out, sleeping soundly. We are all brothers, why is there such a big gap? In order to protect them, Brother Hawking had gone with the teachers to fight against the bad guys. Brother Pietro also snatched her favorite pudding during dinner at night. On the other side, Hawking, who didn't know that little Wanda was worried about him, was being helped by Storm to put on the smaller X-suit on the plane. Professor Ororo, actually I don't think I need to wear this. This suit is made of special materials. I just modified it in the afternoon. It can effectively resist some physical and energy damage and protect your safety. You must wear it, Storm explained with a serious look on her face. Okay, Hawking wants to tell Storm that as soon as he transforms, the clothes on his body will automatically be transformed into the Kame Senryu martial arts uniform, and it will be useless even if he wears it, but after thinking about it, it seemed good to have the protection of this X-suit after the transformation, so I gave up in the end. Teacher Ororo, I can just wear it myself. This battle suit is not ordinary clothes. It is not easy to put on at first. I will help you put it on. You can watch it and you will know how to put it on next time. Storm ignored Hawking's protests. Hawking had no choice but to secretly lament that he was not growing fast enough. In his previous life, he was of the late-growing type, probably because he had been living in a boarding house with no one to care about him and his living conditions were not good and his nutrition could not keep up, so he grew relatively late and did not look tall when he was 11 or 12 years old. Unlike later children, nutrition can keep up, and many 11 or 12-year-olds look like little adults. In addition, I don't know if it is because he has merged into Son Goku's Saiyan blood, but his symptoms are even more obvious. With the tail behind his butt, it gives people a sense of harmlessness. Wolverine, who was smoking a cigar over there, was stunned when he saw Hawking, and the corner of his mouth was harder than AK. Logan, don't smoke on the plane, don't you see there is a child like me here? But soon he was criticized by Hawking, and Storm also cast a stern look at Wolverine. Yeah. You're still a kid. Wolverine stopped laughing immediately and had no choice but to put out the cigar in his palm. 3 hours later, the fighter jet flew from New York to Lake Eau Claire in Canada, turning on the fighter's stealth device and slowly parking it in a patch of snow outside the dam. Everyone began to discuss how to enter the base. There is only one Ihong channel in the entire dam that can be entered, but the trouble is that as long as we show up, Stryker can open the gate, and we will all be drowned by then. Storm explained after turning on the virtual simulation device on the plane and showing the structural diagram of the dam. Kurt, can you take us in? No, unless it's a place I've been to, or a place I can see. I can't move there, I'll get stuck in the wall. Nightcrawler shook his head like a rattle. At this time Wolverine stood up. I'll go, Stryker won't let me die. Wolverine, no matter who goes, the purpose is to enter the control room, find and know how to operate the device that closes the spillway. What are you going to do? Are you using steel claws? Magneto said with a little sarcasm. Wolverine stared. At least I'm adventurous. But I don't want to take any chances. Magneto looked at Mystique, who had transformed into Wolverine. This transformation ability is really useful. Hawking looked at Mystique, who looked exactly like Wolverine, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. If she didn't want to completely change the status of mutants like Magneto, Mystique would actually be the mutant who least has to worry about living in the human world. As long as she doesn't cause trouble and no one can find and catch her, she can live well. Everyone is well aware of Mystique's infiltration ability. So Magneto's proposal to let Mystique transform into Wolverine and enter the base was naturally approved. After waiting quietly in the fighter plane for about 20 minutes, Mystique's relaxed voice came from the communicator. The device has been turned off, you can come in. The rear compartment door of the fighter plane opened, and Hawking silently took out his Mickey Mouse children's sunglasses, put them on, and ran with everyone to the spillway of the dam. Looking at the round moon hanging above his head, he couldn't help but murmur to himself, "I hope I don't have to turn into a giant ape. A weak but arrogant human being." Looking at the heavily armed human soldiers blocking the spillway, Magneto let out a disdainful snort. Immediately, the grenade tabs hanging on the waists of the human soldiers were all automatically pulled out due to their abilities, and the rifles they were holding were all released and aimed at themselves. Boom! 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 Ta! 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 In an instant, the dozens of elite men sent by Stryker to guard the spillway were all dead. As expected of the crowd, it's truly terrifying. This scene fell in Hawking's eyes, and his brows jumped at the sight. Magneto's ability to control magnetic fields is really the nemesis of modern high-tech weapons. Especially after wearing a helmet to prevent mental intrusion, there is basically no weakness. Recall that in the movie Magneto stopped countless missiles in an instant, raised his hand to lift and transfer the nearly 2,000-meter-long Golden Gate Bridge, and flew an entire large stadium through the air. It was indeed very abnormal. Fortunately, the Magneto in this universe is closer to the movie. If it were the Magneto in the comics, it would be even more abnormal. Chapter 18. Do you have time to discuss it? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It hasn't exploded yet. Outside the main control room of the base, Stryker felt dizzy looking at the control room door that was still intact after several blasts. In order to ensure the safety of the main control room, he also deliberately added a small amount of adamantium alloy into the door. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a trap for himself. Just after passing the surveillance, he suddenly saw his most proud work, Wolverine, appearing in the spillway. Even he couldn't hold back and put it into the base. As a result, it was only after meeting that he realized that the other person was not the real Wolverine, but it was too late. Mystique transformed into him and sneaked into the main control room, closing the main control door. "Colonel, you may not be able to explode even if you use this amount more than 10 times. You need to increase the amount." The captain responsible for directing the door blast explained. No matter how powerful it is, it will threaten the entire dam." Stryker frowned. If there was a problem with the dam and the lake water rushed into the base, all of them would die. "Abandon this place, go to the brainwave enhancement room, and start the mutant extermination plan directly." "But Colonel, the brainwave enhancement machine has just been installed and has not been debugged and tested yet, in case there is a problem." Before his men could finish speaking, they were interrupted by Stryker raising his hand. "It's too late. Since Mystique is here, Magneto might not be far away." He knew Magneto's abilities too well, and it was precisely because of his understanding that he knew how terrifying the opponent was. His men couldn't stop him for long. Sure enough, before he and his men had left the main control room door, he heard the news over the intercom that all the spillway guards had been wiped out. Stop them at all costs. Helpless, he could only issue death orders to the remaining guards. How long can you delay? The longer you delay, the more likely it is that the plan will be completed. On the other side, under the leadership of Magneto, the 5 Hawkings swept all the way and quickly reached the main control room of the base without taking any action. In fact, at this time, he felt that if he didn't rely on Phoenix Girl to determine the location of the base or borrow the Mutant Academy's fighter planes, Magneto and Mystique might be able to kill the entire base. The troops at Stryker's base posed no threat to Magneto at all, and the Death Girl who was guarding him was also defeated by Magneto. "Have you found Charles?" Magneto raised his hand and directly removed the entire metal door of the main control room, then looked at Mystique who was controlling the computer over there and asked. After Mystique made some smooth operations, the 3-dimensional projection of the base immediately popped up, and a room at the end of the base was specially marked by her. "Most of the power in the base is now being sent to this room. This should be the location of the brainwave enhancement room. Can you just close it from here?" Storm asked. Mystique shook her head. "It's an independent switch control and can't be turned off here." At this moment, Hawking saw Wolverine turn around and silently leave the main control room. He knew that Wolverine saw Stryker on the surveillance camera preparing to evacuate the base, and wanted to intercept him and figure out his past. Back then, Wolverine was hit between the eyebrows by an adamantite bullet from Stryker. He lost more than 100 years of memory and is living in a hazy state until now. What Wolverine wants most is to get all his memories back. Pyatt, you go and catch Stryker with Logan. Maybe we will need him later. Colossus turned around and gave orders to Colossus. Colossus glanced at Storm and saw Storm nodded. Colossus followed and left the main control room. Why did he let Colossus go to help Wolverine? Because even if Colossus and Wolverine are with them, they are defeated by Magneto's ability. It is better to catch Stryker. That guy can't let him escape anymore, otherwise he will be in trouble in the future, and if Wolverine were to go alone, he might not be able to defeat Death Girl, who was protecting Stryker and also had Adamal alloy and self-healing ability. In the movie, Death Woman's fighting skills are stronger than Wolverine. In the end, Wolverine won mainly because of his rich experience and poured the adamantium alloy solution into Death Woman's body. Now who knows whether this will still be the result, maybe Wolverine will be the one who gets fed in the end. You must know that Captain America has become Captain Britain. Some things are better to be safe, and you cannot blindly believe in the plot. In the past 2 days together, he had quite a good impression of Wolverine. If he died here, he would have one less friend to talk to in the future. As for why Storm agreed? One is that she trusts Hawking's wisdom, and the other is that since she already knows that Magneto may betray him, she may really need to use Stryker to open the door. The construction drawings of the brainwave-enhanced chamber were forced out of me by Stryker in prison. I know how to close it. In this way, Mystique and I will rescue Charles, while you go capture Stryker and deal with the soldiers in the base. At this time, Magneto suddenly spoke up and suggested. Storm narrowed her eyes. No, I think it's better if we go together. Oh well. Magneto and Mystique looked at each other, and then there was an inexplicable look in their eyes. They didn't expect Storm to be so alert, but now is not the time to fall out, at least until the mutant crisis is resolved. Load Wukong template. At this time, Hawking also silently loaded the protagonist template. From now on, Magneto may rebel at any time, and he must ensure his own strength and safety. You remind me of a mutant called Psylocke. Magneto raised his eyebrows when he saw Hawking with his hair standing up, his clothes changing, and a stick on his back. Psylocke is a very powerful mutant who can use energy to strengthen his body and transform into various weapons to fight. He feels that Hawking and Psylocke should belong to the same type of mutant. Is she good at fighting? If she can fight, be sure to spar with her when you have time. Hawking, who was in the Wukong template, suddenly lit up. Magneto smiled. She's quite good at fighting, but it's a pity that she doesn't belong to my brotherhood, but is a subordinate of the black market mutant businessman Caliban. I know you are also very powerful. Do you have time to compare notes? Hawking stared at Magneto, and his strong desire to fight was almost ready to come out. In his heart, Magneto is quite powerful, and it is precisely because Magneto is strong enough that he, influenced by Wukong's character, becomes very eager to fight with him. Fortunately, he still had his own reason to suppress him. Want to compete with me? There will be a chance. Magneto was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then showed a meaningful smile. Everyone walked along the base, and after getting rid of several waves of blocking soldiers, they soon arrived near the brainwave control room. Careful. At this moment, 2 red lasers shot from the side, hitting the 5 people's position directly. It was Cyclops controlled by Stryker with brain fluid. Chapter 19 Afterimage Fist shows its power. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Hawking, who had quick reactions, held Storm in one hand and Nightcrawler in the other, quickly retreated and dodged Cyclops's red shock wave. Magneto, who was walking at the front, raised his hand and moved the machine weighing several kilograms next to him in front of him. It's a teacher from your school. You can solve it yourself. Leaving behind a few words, Magneto and Mystique left Hawking and the others behind and planned to move on. It won't take that long, I'll do it. Hawking shouted loudly, and he quickly rushed towards Cyclops. Whoosh! 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 Seeing Hawking's attack, Cyclops quickly pressed the switch on his laser glasses, and short-frequency red shock waves shot out quickly like lasers. However, Hawking was extremely fast at this time and his movements were quite coquettish. He jumped up and down like a monkey, dodging every shock wave, but the closer you get, the harder it is to hide. Just like a pistol, the gun is fast from 5 steps, and the gun is fast and accurate within 5 steps. Only by being close can you have a chance to win. Hawking, get out of the way. As soon as Storm behind her reacted, she found that Hawking had already rushed out. Before she was ready to activate her abilities to help, Hawking had already rushed to a place less than 1 meter away from Cyclops, but for some reason, he suddenly stopped there. The Cyclops showed no mercy at all, aiming at Hawking's head and shooting a red shock wave. With the power of the Cyclops shock wave, if an average person is shot in the head from the front, they will probably turn into a big exploding watermelon on the spot. Unfortunately, although Storm has a wide range of lightning and storm attacks, she cannot help quickly due to the slow activation time of her abilities and the restrictions in this base. As for the Night Walker who can teleport next to her, he is a devout Christian and has no professional training at all. He was still in a daze after being attacked just now, but then her eyes widened, because the red shock wave passed directly through Hawking's body, as if Hawking standing there was just a shadow. It's over. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind Cyclops. Before he could turn his head, he felt a pain in his neck and fainted. At this time, Storm discovered that Hawking had unexpectedly jumped above Cyclops, turned over and hit him on the neck. So strong. From Cyclops' sneak attack to the end of the battle, it only takes 3 seconds at most. Within 3 seconds, Hawking knocked out Cyclops, the X-Men's main force with rich combat experience. How could this not surprise her? It turned out that she didn't quite believe Wolverine's compliments about how strong Hawking was. After seeing it with her own eyes, she realized that what Wolverine said was true. If she fought Hawking at close range, she was not sure she could win. You really need wisdom, and you need strength and strength. Picking up Cyclops, Hawking quickly returned to his original position, raised his hand and shouted to Magneto and Mystique who had just taken a few steps in front. It's solved, don't be so anxious, let's work together. In fact, Cyclops is very powerful. It absorbs the surrounding energy through the body and metabolizes it into concussive shock waves, which are released from the eyes. If you take off the laser glasses that control the shock wave and release it with full force without any distinction, it will be like a human-shaped laser cannon. Its power can easily destroy most buildings and kill most enemies instantly. The key has not cooled down yet and the firing speed is very fast. The only weakness is that his physical fitness is not strong, his fighting ability is relatively weak, and he is easily knocked down at close range. Then there is the common problem of most X-Men. They are too soft-hearted. They can be injured but never killed, which invisibly weakens their combat effectiveness. Just now, Hawking used the Afterimage punch to release an Afterimage to mislead Cyclops, and then jumped up and knocked him out. If he placed it in a wide enough place to increase the distance and did not limit the output of the Cyclops, he might not be able to win. Looking at Hawking carrying Cyclops, Magneto was both appreciative and speechless. What I admired was Hawking's fighting ability at such a young age. What I was speechless about was that his original plan to use Cyclops to fight off the 3 of them seemed to have been ruined. Continuing to move forward, in less than 2 minutes, they saw the door of the brainwave enhancement room guarded by a group of elite soldiers. Magneto raised his finger, and a group of elites were massacred by their own weapons without any resistance. But just as they were about to step forward, Storm, Nightcrawler, Cyclops and Mystique all screamed and fell to the ground, covering their heads. And Hawking immediately reacted and pretended to be the same, because he knew that this was Stryker's son, Master of Illusion, who had controlled Professor. Only Magneto, wearing a helmet that isolates his mental power, is unaffected. He raised his hands, activated his abilities with all his strength, and controlled the brainwave enhancement machine to force it into a closed state. The entire brainwave enhancement room was built by Stryker based on the design drawings he obtained from his mind. He naturally knew all the details. Without the amplification of the brainwave enhancement machine, Professor X would no longer be able to locate mutants, and they would naturally be safe. However, the moment the brainwave enhancement machine was turned off, Magneto immediately opened the door to the brainwave enhancement room, and then pulled Mystique in. Before Storm and others have recovered from Professor X's mental attack, they must close the door to the brainwave enhancement room. The door of the brainwave enhancement room is also doped with adamantium alloy and cannot be broken through violently. Moreover, Once a violent attack is performed, it will affect the entire brainwave room, thereby indirectly killing Professor X, so as long as the door is closed, he can rest assured and immediately let Mystique transform into Stryker and give the Master of Illusion an order to kill all humans instead of all mutants. Triple Afterimage Fist. At this moment, Hawking took action. He was not a mutant, so he was naturally unaffected by Professor Court Death. Sensing that Hawking suddenly rushed in, looking like he was about to attack him, Magneto instinctively activated his ability to protect himself. A coin burst out of his pocket and hit Hawking directly between the eyebrows. Although he admired Hawking very much, if Hawking interfered with the plan to exterminate mankind, he would not hesitate to kill him. However, the coin passed directly through Hawking's body just like the shock wave from Cyclops before. Crack! A sound of a broken neck came from behind, and Magneto hurriedly turned to look behind him. With an angry look on his face, it turned out that Hawking did not know when he appeared in front of the Master of Illusion in a wheelchair, and then broke his neck. The matter is over. Of course, if you still want to spar with me, I am willing to accompany you to the end. Hawking let go of the Illusion Master's neck and smiled. Chapter 20 Shield appears. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. With the Wukong template loaded, Hawking really wanted to fight Magneto, but compared to fighting, saving people was more important, even with Wukong's character, so instead of directly fighting Magneto to determine the outcome, he used the triple afterimage punch to deceive Magneto and kill the Master of Illusion first. As long as the Master of Illusion is dead, no one can control Professor X. And mutants and humans are all safe. As for the Master of Illusion, although his life experience is quite pitiful, he accidentally killed his mother because he could not control his abilities, and was cruelly turned into an experimental subject by his father, but it had nothing to do with him anyway, so he could only say sorry. He couldn't risk the entire human life to bet that he could defeat Magneto, especially his own life and that of Wanda, Oleg, and Alina. Okay, you're fine. The angry Magneto slowly floated up, and the entire brainwave enhancement room began to tremble. If it weren't for Hawking, he would have killed all the humans on Earth at once, made mutants the masters of the world, and fulfilled his greatest wish in life. Eric, are you here to save me? At this moment, Professor X's weak voice sounded. As soon as the Master of Illusion died, Professor, seeing this, Magneto took a deep breath and finally let it fall again. Charles, what did you see in the fantasy world, or fight for justice? Unfortunately, they don't follow your rules and want to kill all mutants. Before the Master of Illusion died, Hawking and the people in the mutant school who prevented him from annihilating humanity were enemies, but now that the Master of Illusion is dead, they are no longer enemies. At least they shouldn't be enemies now. Just like his relationship with Charles, both of them were fighting for the interests of mutants, but they had different ideas and different ways of acting, so they took two paths. But until a decisive moment comes, like when they turned all the top government officials into mutants on Liberty Island and just about to kill all humans, they all need each other's presence. So now at this time, Hawking has become one of the important forces of mutants in his heart. He should no longer be killed, but he needs to win over to his side as much as possible. Eric, people occasionally stumble and lose their way, but that doesn't mean they will be lost forever. Sometimes they just need someone to help them. As long as we work together, we can lead mankind in a better direction. Faced with Magneto's ridicule, Professor X did not get angry, but still insisted on his own ideas. You are still so naive, Charles. Humanity will only destroy us. We have never coexisted. There is only death and death. Magneto snorted, seeing that the two were about to enter into an argument. Hawking spoke. How about we go out and find a safe place to talk again? This base is not safe. If there is a problem with a bad dam, everyone will be finished. As for the ideological debate between the two, Hawking was not interested. He was not a mutant, and there was no real right or wrong in this kind of thing. It all depends on what identity you take as your first position. If you think mutant identity is the most important, even if your family and friends are not as important as mutant identity, then kill all humans. If you think family and friends are more important, then regardless of whether they are mutants or not, if someone wants to kill your friends and family, then why not resist just because they are mutants? In a world like Marvel, there's really no need to argue about this. Country and country, race and race, skin and skin, mutants and humans, humans and aliens, Earth and aliens. If you want to really divide them, there are too many. Going a step further, the Earth and the Sun were both created by the celestial gods, and mutants are just the products of human genetic modification by the celestial gods. There is nothing noble or low. Crack, that at this moment, the door to the brainwave enhancement room opened, and Storm, Wolverine, Cyclops and others rushed in. It turned out that Colossus and Wolverine worked together to control Death Girl, rushed over with Stryker, and used the password to open the door of the brainwave enhancement room. As for Cyclops and Death Girl, due to the death of Master of Illusion, the brain fluid lost its control effect and returned to normal. Forget it, let's go. When Magneto saw this, he stopped staying. He left a word, turned around and left the brainwave enhancement room with Mystique. Since the plan failed, it was time to part ways. No, let them go. Seeing that Cyclops and Storm were about to take action, Professor X, who had regained some energy, quickly sent a message to stop them. This place is different from the last time on Liberty Island. If there really was a fight here, the entire dam would explode with Magneto's ability. By then Magneto could fly away, and they would be in trouble, and after learning the lesson from this time, it's not like he hasn't changed his mind at all. Maybe having Magneto outside is not without any benefit. After Magneto and Mystique left, Professor X turned to look at Hawking. I'm sorry, I didn't expect that you would encounter this kind of thing when I first came here, and thank you for your help. After Storm came in, he read their memories and learned the whole story, as well as all of Hawking's contributions to protecting the school and saving mutants and humans. He didn't want Hawking to join the fight so early, he just wanted him to go to school well and join the X-Men after graduation. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing when he first entered school. Fortunately, Hawking had help. Otherwise, letting Magneto complete his plan would not be the result he wanted to see. I said I won't let you regret your decision that day. Hawking smiled, but what Professor X said next made him stop laughing. But I also want to say that you are not allowed to smoke or drink in school, at least until you are an adult. After speaking, he looked at Wolverine again. And you, if you give him cigarettes next time, then I will definitely let your mind turn into a 6-year-old girl, and then let Sheen give you some beautiful little braids. Hearing Professor X's warning, the others immediately laughed. Finally, after looking at the dead fantasy master with some guilt, Professor X led everyone out of the brainwave enhancement room. The master of fantasy was once his student, but even he couldn't let every student control his abilities perfectly. Meanwhile, outside the base, as soon as Magneto and Mystique stepped out of the spillway, a sharp arrow flew toward his head. He used his ability to freeze the arrow, but before he had time to observe, the head of the arrow exploded, shocking his whole body and taking several steps back. He relied on the support of Mystique, who was quick to respond, before he stood firm again. Steps.